Okay, so this will be a feedback slash critique for Turu or Pharaoh, whichever he prefers by. Oh, holy shit. I haven't done one of these in a while. I'm really fucking tired. Work sucks. Anyway, you already know what's up, but just in case anyone else new watches this, general disclaimers. I am just a nerd who likes Tekken and Josie. She's a pretty cute character. I am by no means a professional at this game. I am by no means someone whose feedback you should take as gospel. I am simply someone who is watching a video, sees gameplay, and is giving my first impressions and feedback based on my experiences playing Tekken and my experiences watching Tekken. Right? So based on what I've seen, based on how I've played, based on who I played against, blah 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 blah. Here's what I think you could be. Here's what I think you're doing well, and here's what I think you could be doing better. Right?
I can have this conversation with you. Some of these other idiots in here, I won't. You and Chop, I'll talk Tekken. We'll talk after this match, man. Yo, that mix is so strong. Who cares about being linear? Because you can always dash to make your moves track.
And they got the cancel too.
The cancel, yo.
Oh baby. All right. So here's the first problem. Right? You did forward forward 4, and now you're up in Steve's face at -9. One, it's the first round of the match. It's really, maybe you played against this guy before, so you have some more insight. More power to you. Forward forward 4 is nice, right? But it's something that should supplement your more rewarding tools, right? Yes, you want to use the move. You don't want to use it at the start against a character, against an opponent who is not flash ducking anything, who isn't trying to sidestep that much, who isn't trying to like press too many buttons or whatever, right? It's like a fine approach tool, but generally against characters, you don't just want to put yourself at -9 in their face, right? You're safe, but your turn is over. You can literally do nothing besides block and duck, right? And especially against Steve, you don't want to be in this situation, right? Doesn't matter what move he has, it's most likely a counter hit launcher. There is no, it doesn't matter the down forward 2 got nerfed. There was no universe where Josie can out brawl, meaning, you're stuck at range 0 and just slamming buttons against each other. There is no situation where Josie is going to out brawl Steve, right? Doesn't matter what nerf, doesn't matter what patch. So, trying to keep it short, don't put yourself at -9. First, identify if you need to use the tool, right? It is a good tool. Fantastic. However, do you need to use it? Is your opponent sidestepping a lot? Is your opponent ducking a lot, right? Because you have other options that should take priority first, and focusing in on those, right? Do you need to use where if you could have gotten forward forward 3 as opposed to using forward forward 4, right? Do that instead. If you could have gotten for crouch dash 3, do that instead. If you could have gone for crouch dash 1+2, do that instead, right? Prioritize your other tools that leave you in a rewarding situation, or it gives you, or at least give you an escape option where, okay, they blocked it, but I'm still -1 to 4, so I can move around a bit. and against Steve, you still don't want to leave yourself too close, because trust me, you're not gonna sidestep back one. That shit's basically homing, right? Let's keep going. Yeah, there we go. This is another thing, right? You ducked and you clearly pressed some button or something. I don't think it was a wall standing move, but on the off chance that it was, right? You have to make sure whatever move you do, high crushes. Not evades, not, oh, I'm super evasive and doing up back 3 or something. You have to make sure you high crush. No evasive move is going to beat Steve back 1, right? I honestly don't even think that, like, the Josie setup where you like have them block something and then do hop kick. I'm not even sure if those work, right? Maybe they do. I would ask the Josie nerds, but the move has a fantastic hitbox and it's one of the best moves in Tekken for a reason, right? So you have to make sure that whatever move you're doing, especially this close range against Steve, either high crushes or you're doing your move during Steve's whiff recovery, where he can't just do back one and then do back one again, or do back one into flicker 1-1 or some shit. So I guess the combo. What's the wake up situation? Unfortunate. A quick note about Steve's grab game, right? I think the wall grab's kind of lame and stupid. Like, why does this have a 14 frame break window as opposed to the 20 frames and shit? Like, yeah, I'm not gonna be emailing Harada and begging him to nerf this shit. I just think it's kind of stupid. Like, why does he need that? But that's my own frustrations with the character. A majority of Steve's grabs are broken by 1+2, including the scary fast wall throw, right? He doesn't have a throw game. He has very fast throws, like from here, and he has throws that, you're hesitating, you're waiting for an opportunity to whiff punish something or move out of the way, and he can catch you with hesitation. But if it's a command throw, anytime, just 1+2, and you'll break it, right? But these ones you have to be very careful because he can get a free wall splat into, knockdown, Oki, whatever, you name it. Yeah. Just gotta be careful.
I don't know. I think last time I checked,
Don't know what happened there.
but I don't know. It could be going back and forth. I never try to judge on those instances. Yeah. Right now, Charlotte's doing pretty good though. Yeah, and Steve mirrors are always funny. I don't really give.
This is kind of like a running theme where it feels like you have an overall unfamiliarity with Steve's strings, so you'll always be pressing at the wrong time and then getting counter hit launched. Steve's single moves are already really powerful, and the strings are also still powerful and kind of annoying, but they typically won't leave him in the best situation. And just a bit of patience and defense, and you'll be fine. So I'd recommend labbing the strings. And also labbing situations like that where you had the right idea going for the whiff punish, but it's like even if you didn't know that this thing high crushes or whatever, look at how the man's doing the limbo, right? He's literally like almost on his back. What in what world does your jab punish work out? And maybe it was tournament nerves or something. Sure. All I'm saying is, aim for mids in this situation. This move is this whole little like evasive back jerk or whatever. I don't think it's a full on stance. I think it's just like a mini stance. Like, he enters it, he doesn't have a lot of moves from it, but the key thing about it is that it's super evasive against highs, especially. I think it does even high crush. I actually don't know, but you got to make sure you use mids against this, and you have a plethora of mids. I think even here in this situation, forward 3+4 would have counter hit.
No, not because of that. Just because I've played against very good Steves.
Unfortunate.
Like I was saying, I played against Mills, Big Red the other day. He's a very good Steve.
Let's keep going.
His Steve is amazing. He played, I think, large Steve in
Okay, so second time around when they block the transition, I think you're overcommitting to the transition. I'm not the biggest fan of 3-2 forward. It's just kind of like whatever. It's fine when the opponent is being very passive and you've got them conditioned to like respect certain things and stuff like that. And the Steve is generally on the passive side. Like, he's not like challenging with too many buttons. He just kind of waits for his turn, presses his strings, and the strings work out because you're unfamiliar with them, which is whatever. I think 3-2 forward, you're better off focusing on other direct, like just do the raw CD3, right? Doing the 3-2 forward, you're giving them more time to build up that reaction. Like, Once they start blocking and they start seeing the transition, they're on the lookout for stuff, and they're just kind of like, all right, let me block here and stuff like that. So that's one thing to consider, is that don't bother with the transition yet. Just do 3 by itself just to see what he does. You need to focus more on building up your knowledge of your opponent's habits and what you can do against them. And then, maybe sprinkle in the 3-2 transitions and stuff. I don't think they're that amazing or necessary, but, you want to use it, more power to you. But it's more important that you want to give your opponent less time to react until you have a better understanding of how they work, right? I guess the short-handed way of saying it is that, like, I think 3-2 forward is better served as either focusing on helping condition your opponent or conditioning your opponent. It's not really best utilized as, like, let me initiate my offense with this, right? Unfortunately, Josie was not a Season 3 DLC where, Lydia 3-2 forward would have, like, plus 16 on transition or some shit. You're doing a move that puts you in a stance, your crouch dash, where you cannot block, and you're entering it at -7, right? Anybody can disrupt you.
Yeah, he did. He played larger speed. Of course, Shin Blade, yeah. Anakin's got a very good speed.
Right, and so again, what was your reasoning behind this, right? You've had 2 rounds with this guy. When did he ever really sidestep you or anything like that, right? When did he start weaving around with the weaves that Steve has? Never. He's literally on rails, going back and forth like it's a 2D fighter, and then just pressing his buttons because they work out in his favor, right? I'm not necessarily flaming the guy. I'm just saying you have to recognize the context in what you're using your tools, and in this situation it doesn't feel like you're utilizing forward properly, right? Or at least adjusting to, okay, forward 4 isn't really working out and it leaves me in an awkward situation against Steve. Go for different options.
The first set I've ever played against Anakin was against Steve.
Really? Yeah. You got really good speed. It's not that I don't have.
So this is another thing. It's like, what was the reasoning behind the random down forward 2, right? The only time this man has ever really ducked is when you were doing like the 3-2 transition into stuff, right? He's not ducking that much in your face. He's not like flash ducking, waiting out for stuff. And you use like 1 down 4, right? First, give them reasons to duck. Do down 4, do 1+4, do CD3, right? And then, when you're like, when they're expecting the low, then, the random mid will catch them off guard. Throughout the match, you've just done a lot of like mids with the occasional low that comes out from a transition, right? You haven't done anything to condition them to be like, oh, I'm really worried about this Josie's highs or lows. Let me start ducking a bunch.
You got really good speed. It's not that I don't have. I just
Unfortunate. That's punishable.
Right now, Shaolin's exhibiting that. Nice.
Oh, nice.
Okay, this is gonna hurt. Can you take it to the? Going for big boy stuff.
Good combo.
You gotta be careful, Steve.
Unfortunate. A tragedy. Okay. I agreed with the decision, just unfortunate timing where he wasn't waking up into it. But, yeah, that happens. We can't all be Steve with the plus 14 on block, Rage Drive with Punisher. Tragedy.
It's really good.
This is just gonna be a reminder to myself to talk about this in personal opinion stuff, but let's keep going.
It's like 4 or 5 different benefits to it.
It's good. It's one of the better ones for sure. It's one of the better ones.
Top 5 back in there.
Unfortunate.
Lucky Toy, Alyssa, Bob.
Oh, yeah. Don't have enough Steve knowledge to talk about the unblockable stuff. That shit's annoying. This is another thing of like, you gotta have this was where you should have won the round, right? And I get it, you're kind of still not used to seeing the move, which is understandable, but you just gotta block and then launch him for it, right? Do your hop kick, do oh, I guess what's her standing launcher? Nothing. It's just hop kick. You know, you have wall standing 2-1, but I think hop kick would have been better just for the easy combo route. Like outside of a punish situation, I don't see a reason to go for wall standing 2-1. You're on a weird axis. The combo is annoying. I don't know if the damage is that much better than your usual routes. Whereas with the hop kick, it's like it's super hard to fuck up the route. It's super easy. Maybe there's some arguable meta stuff about like, oh, you want the access, and there are times like if you're trying to whiff punish a jab, don't, but that's a different story. Like if you're aiming to whiff punish a jab, obviously wall standing 2-1 would serve better because you have a bit more room for error on wall standing 2-1. Like if you fuck up the timing on wall standing 2-1 by like a frame or two, who cares? A jab's whiff recovery is -17, wall standing 2-1's 13. You have a lot more room to work with. And if you're aiming for like whiff recovery with like a hop kick, that's gonna be a bit tighter window, right? But yeah, I think here this should have been a hop kick, and this is just one of those things where lab the matchup, build up that reaction, build up that knowledge and punishment, and then practice it for next time.
Yo, this person live wire. Why you trying to start stuff in the chat, man?
Unfortunate.
Live wire. Why you trying to start stuff in the
Down
chat?
4. Oh yeah. Maybe if you're a little bit closer.
Why you trying to start stuff in the chat, man? Okay, here we go. I don't know.
I don't even think 4-4-4 would have worked because you probably would have whiffed in his face. But who knows?
Alright, Talkin takes the first round in the second match.
Let's get it.
About to close it out. It's gonna be
Right. So this is the other thing of like, okay, so you do the 3-2 forward, and now you're doing the mid.
Let's get it.
Fine. What is the need or the desire to go for the big payoff of the, crouch dash 2? I mean, I answered my own question, but it's like whatever. You're too focused on the reward, right? You had a reasonable what's the word? It was reasonable enough to think like, okay, I think the Steve's gonna duck here. I still think that's a bit too risky, right? If the Steve is ducking, why bother risking the -14 on what's his face? On Steve. I don't think he's gonna launch you. I don't think he has a standing 14 frame launcher. Where the fuck is the yeah, like he doesn't. Is this the move? Oh yeah, that's 17 frames. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, like he doesn't have a standing 14 frame launcher. Sure. It's just more about like you have better options, right? Like CD 1+2, he's not gonna react to it, he's not gonna hit you out of it, he's just gonna block, and then now you have more plus frames to work with. And so you have something to why is this all fucked up? Amazing. You have something to work with where it's like, oh, let me put myself in a favorable situation. They're either gonna block it because this dude was never sidestepping, or they're gonna eat it, right? You either get or by some miracle you get a counter hit launch, right? All of those situations are super favorable to you. I don't think going from the transition into the CD2 was the play. That should have been death. Oh, am I watching? Oh yeah. This is just replaying from the start.
Which is stupid. The FGC.
FGC Rebel because I play all fighting music moves.
No, it's
I play Dragon Ball, I play Street Fighter, I play Mortal Kombat.
I hate that y'all don't put the ATL in there.
Nice. Yeah. See, right?
I just never thought about it.
Easy.
FGC Rebel just became a thing.
Unfortunate.
You gotta wait a banner, bro.
Hmm.
It'll release you. Once you wait that
So that's like if you're playing offline, I do think that is in the realm of reactable, right? So that should have been a hop kick. Reactable once you practice it, right? Like obviously you're unfamiliar with the Steve matchup or something. So definitely take some time so that anytime you see him walk forward, just hop kick. Or maybe down forward too, whichever. But you can definitely react to like that low.
start playing through the roof.
I put my name on that for the
And you could react to that punish. Yeah. I don't want to harp on punish situations too much. It's like if it's matchup knowledge, do that on your own time. Work on that matchup. Good punish. Uh, yeah, I'll talk about it. Okay. Got caught pressing when you shouldn't. Nice, nice.
After the tournament, you guys really build. He's very introspective guy.
Hmm.
Okay, of course.
So far, so good.
Yeah, I'm amazed by that strength too. What's up, AJ?
Okay.
What's up, man?
Oh.
Straight pro. Another law player. What kind of combo was that? Yeah.
He went for something big there.
He thought he was probably going to do a low. Shaolin likes to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes you kind of do, depending on the situation. And right there, like, he lost really, like, one hit, so he was like, let me
Reward is
go for
high.
it.
Yeah. Ooh, this is going to hurt.
Holy shit! Did that like go under the jab?
Other wall over there.
That's really funny.
Not quite.
Pretty decent ball carrier, though.
Yeah, he was going for it again. You see Shaolin ducking.
Nice block.
Yeah. That's punishable. Good shot. Good punishment, Shaolin.
Gets off the ball. Very nice.
Yeah, trying to close the gap with the 4-4-4 right there.
Gets off for 7. Nice low.
Now
Nice
once
jab.
nice jab. Now once he gets Shaolin in rage area right here, he's got to be careful. He can punish that plus range. Nice. Got to be careful.
Nice.
The overcommitment. All right. That is a fitting way to end this. All right, let's do the usual breakdown: neutral, punishment / matchup knowledge, combo / Oki, and personal opinion stuff. Neutral. There just isn't any neutral. You're just using the big power moves. You're not using your small Tekken tools. You're not using jabs. You're not using down 4 as much as you should be, right? You're overcommitting a lot to 1-2-2, right? Why the overcommitment to 1-2-2? 1-2 is perfectly serviceable to give you some decent frame advantage if it hits, and if it doesn't, you're -1, so who cares? You can just move around. You're not leveraging one of Josie's core strengths, which is the crazy fucking Filipino model is safe on a bunch of crazy stuff, right? She never has to really commit. She kind of has to commit to the mix-ups, but even then, she has alternatives that are usually safe and leave maybe not as crazy high a reward, but a decent enough reward where it's fine to just opt for that, right? You're not skewing the safety of your toolkit in your favor. You're just kind of throwing out these power moves and hoping for the big reward. Why? I don't understand. You need to play a lot more compact, focusing on poking with, jabs, maybe a 1-2 at most, to try and get a free turn in and seeing, do like 1-2 into movement, force him to use either some of his tracking moves or aiming for more back one. So doing like sidestep right duck, I think that's the one that's like really effective against him. And forcing him to use tools that track in that direction. Typically these tools will not have like as rewarding or as a crazier reward as opposed to just, what down 4-2 fucking used to do. God, fuck that move. Right, it's not as, you can actually step Steve these days. We'll talk about that later. Use more of your options that leave you in a favorable situation on block, and that doesn't have to mean like it's just more about like, use CD 1+2 a bit more, use forward 3 a bit more, just the occasional once in a while, like maybe once at the round, to just be like, hey, I got this move, it's still my turn, right? To do these things of like, okay, let me take a free turn and let me free roll a turn and see what I can do. Or they are moves that like 1-2, just simple. You're at -1, doesn't matter. You can still move around. Josie is very average in movement. Like she still has a sidestep, but it's not like Steve is back one, but again sidestep right duck. It's about making it so that you don't commit to all these like heavy commitments you're making, that you're not doing 1-2-2 on block, you're not doing random down 4-2s, you're not doing just, oh, let me do CD2 into my Hail Mary, right? Your neutral is too heavily focused on the reward of some of these moves and not taking into account the risk and the conditioning you need to make those payoffs more realistic. You're just doing the moves because it's like, all right, well, this is my big mix-up move or my big Hail Mary move, and it's like, okay, yeah, but you're just putting yourself at risk when you don't need to be doing that. Punishment / matchup knowledge. Not gonna go into too much detail because just look up a punish guide on Steve and start grinding that if you're gonna run into this Steve a lot. However, a thing to note. Ding dong, the witch is dead, the wicked witch of the west. Down forward 2 no longer fucking is homing, right? Fuck that move. It's gone. So it went from don't ever step Steve because you'll die to okay, step Steve, right? Does he have moves that track? Yes, but his homing move comes from a stance, meaning you look at the stance and you're like, he's in the homing move stance, and then you're like, okay, I don't need to step right now, let me focus on other stuff. And when he's not in the stance, you just go, oh, he doesn't have access to a homing move, so he has to have the read that you're going to step in a certain direction, right? He has strong tracking moves, and back one is nearly homing, but doing a simple sidestep into duck, in situations where you're like -1, you'll have plenty of time to deal with back one. You won't maybe not get a punish, but you won't get counter hit launched, right? You're not going to die for stepping Steve, and that is the end goal, that you go for an option and that you don't die. So experiment more with movement, right? Make the Steve work for don't just stand still for the Steve and let him press all these buttons and strings, right? Definitely work on labbing the strings, because a lot of those enders are either punishable or can be easily disrupted and stuff like that. The matchup is just awkward because Josie doesn't have like a fast high crush low. However, she has, down back 2, which is an easy high crush counter hit launcher, right? You have down 2 doesn't high crush. I wouldn't rely on the evasion, but just even having something like down back 2 is actually stupidly useful because it is a legit high crush, right? What is this shit high crush? Oh, Josie. This shit high crushes from frame 6, bruh. It is a 20 frame move. Is it slow? Yes. But when you're facing against a character with a lot of pressure on highs, you high crush. Who fucking cares, right? So utilizing a bit more of that stuff, right? If you're gonna be doing all this risky stuff, at least do stuff that's like handles a bit of your opponent's offense at the same time. Combo / Oki. Combos were solid as usual. You had an unfortunate drop with while standing 2-1, so make sure that's always in tip-top shape. Oki, I think you're a little bit too over-eager and rushing in, and it fucked up your timing, and the Steve could stay down for a little bit. Because remember, the opponent can just stay down for as long as they want. They never actually have to get up until you start hitting them with grounded stuff. So taking a bit of time to first focus in on what your opponent is doing. What do they like to do? What do they not like to do, right? What are they doing? What are they weak to? What are they not accounting for? And then formulate your Oki based on that. I think you're a bit too overeager to apply your Oki and pressure, and then it just got you killed. Personal opinion stuff. Use more 1+4 in these ambiguous neutral situations where you don't know what you're doing, right? Just do 1+4, right? And then if you're worried about like, oh, what if they try to disrupt my switch stuff or whatever, use switch 1 to force them to respect switch, and then sometimes you don't have to press a button when you're in switch, right? Like you can use the threat of the stance to just kind of accept it as a return to neutral. Let yourself go back to neutral and just move around for a bit. If you keep committing to the moves, you keep thinking like, oh, I have to press a button, when it's like, no, you don't, right? More 1+4, it's an unseeable low, it's super easy. Maybe a bit more down 4 just to like keep pestering him. Definitely more jabs, more CD 1+2. Again, more of these moves that when used in the right situation, aka your opponent just doesn't fucking sidestep for whatever reason, and they're very passive until they can start pressing strings. They leave you in a very favorable situation, whether it's on block, hit, or counter hit, right? Again, leverage your tools to leave yourself in the best possible situation. Are there going to be times where you go for the read and you go for the call and you're just leaving yourself punishable? Yes. However, as it currently stands in your gameplay, too much of your gameplay revolves around using these like highly explosive tools that don't leave you in any favorable situation whatsoever. And it's like, yeah, if the read pays off, awesome, you're a fucking genius. The problem is that these reads are not paying off, and you're taking on a bunch of risk when you don't have to. Is there any specific feedback you were looking for? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and so fine, and then overall, it's just kind of like, what is your again, what is your game plan? What are the tools that you want to use, and what can you do to supplement those tools? If you really want to use forward, forward, four, fine, but do other moves to make people more susceptible to it. Do forward, forward, three. Do crouch dash three. Do CD 1+2. Do 1+4. All these moves that the opponent's answers can ease. So you do these moves, CD3, 1+2, blah, 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 right? And then the opponent's answers to it, usually through movement or blocking low, all fall prey to forward, forward, four, right? Give them reasons to sidestep or duck first, and then you do your answer to that strategy, right? Don't simply throw out the strategy throw out that move right away. Yeah, it's safe, and yeah, you can just kind of throw it out, but you're putting yourself at -9 in front of the guy with like his entire toolkit is literally just counter hit launcher, counter hit launcher, counter hit launcher, right? Put yourself at less risk and focus more on gaining information on the opponent and putting yourself in situations where you're able to escape safely. Like, what else? Vary up your timings. Go for the raw CD3. That's fine, right? The opponent was rarely ever sidestepping or ducking that much, and because you only really use the CD moves from a transition as opposed to making them more aware of it just from the raw neutral, just kind of when you have that element of surprise, your timing just got really stale. The opponent was never had to worry about CD2 and the CD 1+2 in the open, CD3 in the open, right, etc., 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 or CD4, right? They were never on the lookout for these things because you never used them. You never gave them a reason to be on the lookout for these things. Think about the mental stack video, which I'm sure you've watched and everybody else has watched. You have to use these moves and stuff, not just because it's like, not that they'll work out in every single situation, but because you make your opponent aware of those things, that you force them to be on the lookout for these things, you're able to wear them down mentally so that they're more susceptible to your other strategies, right? You are mixing up your timing so it's harder for the opponent to read you and adjust to you as easily as this Steve was doing. Yeah, that's all I got for now. It's been a while. Whoops. Sorry, man. Work is work. I want money. If you have any questions, you know the drill, right? Just feel free to ask them. Let me know if you're looking for more specific feedback. If you have other matches that you would want feedback on, etc., etc., etc. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody in the Josie Discord's doing well. Just kind of like, yeah. Those are my 2 cents. Have a good one.